My esteemed brother and sister judges, distinguished former judges, Shri Kamal Trivedi, Learned Advocate General, Ms. Manisha Kumar, Learned Government Pleader, Mr. Mitesh Amin, Learned Public Prosecutor, Mr. Devang Vyas, Learned Additional Solicitor General of India, Learned Central and State Law Officers, Mr. Anirudh C. Jhala, Chairman, Gujarat State Bar Council and members of the State Bar Council, Mr. Prithviraj C. Jadeja, President, Mr. Hardik Brahmbhatt, Secretary, Office Bearers and members of the Gujarat High Court Advocates Association, learned registrars and other members of the Registry of the High Court, distinguished senior advocates, learned members of the bar, family members of late Justice A.M. Ahmadi, ladies and gentlemen. We have assembled here today to mourn the sad demise of Justice Aziz Musabbar Ahmadi, former judge of this court, as also former Chief Justice of India, by recounting his personalities, qualities, achievements, and contributions. Although I was not fortunate enough to appear in the court of Justice Ahmadi, I have received inputs about him from my senior members of the bar when I started practice in the High Court from the year 1990, as well as from the registry, which I wish to share. Justice Ahmadi was born on 25th March 1932 at Surat. Justice Ahmadi was the son of a judge and spent most of his childhood living in various districts and talukas. He had received education at V.S. Trivedi Tutorial High School, Gujarat College, Sir L. Shah Law College, Ahmedabad, and Sarvajanik Law College, Surat. 6 Indian universities had conferred on him the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, between February 1994 and June 1997. Justice Ahmadi joined as a district pleader in the Bombay High Court on 15th June 1954 after receiving numerous degrees. Later on 21st February 1962, he was enrolled as an advocate of the Gujarat High Court and began practicing on both civil and criminal sides. He was appointed as a judge in Ahmedabad City Civil and Sessions Court 10 years later on 30th March 1964. In the year 1974, Justice Ahmadi was appointed Secretary of the Gujarat State Legal Affairs and held the said post from 5th June 1974 to 31st December 1975. He was appointed as a judge of Gujarat High Court on 2nd September 1976. He was initially appointed as an additional judge, and on 20th December 1977, he was made a permanent judge. Justice Ahmadi worked as chairman of Advisory Board under Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act 1974, Advisory Board under Prevention of Black Marketing and Maintenance of Supplies of Essential Commodities Act 1980, Gujarat State Third Pay Commission, and also worked as member of the Ravi and Bias Water Disputes Tribunal under the Rajiv Longowal Settlement, Punjab Settlement. On 14 December 1988, Justice Ahmadi was elevated as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. Justice Ahmadi worked as President, Supreme Court Legal Aid Committee in 1989 and as Executive Chairman, Committee for Implementing the Legal Aid Schemes in India from 1st November 90 to 24th October 1994. Justice Ahmadi was appointed as 26th Chief Justice of India with effect from the forenoon of 25th October 1994. He was also patron-in-chief for legal aid schemes in India. During his tenure in the Supreme Court, Justice Ahmadi participated in 811 benches and authored 232 decisions. Justice Ahmadi retired on 25th March 1997 after serving for 2.5 years as a Chief Justice in the Supreme Court. Among many honors bestowed upon him are his membership in the American In-Law of Laws, his appointment as honorary master benches by the Honourable Society of Middle Temple in London, and his Doctor of Laws degrees from University of Leicester in England. He was also nominated on International Committee of Human Rights Violation in East Timor, United Nations, to assist the judiciary in Liberia, International Court of Justice, to review the state of relationship between the judiciary, the legal profession, and the executive and violation of human rights in Zimbabwe, International Bar Association. After stepping down from the Supreme Court, Justice Ahmadi became Chancellor at the renowned Aligarh Muslim University. In 2007, he was re-elected as Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University for 3 years. Some of the important decisions rendered by Justice Ahmadi are: one is on Uniform Civil Code case. Chief Justice Ahmadi concurred that Section 304A of IPC, not Section 304 Roman 2, should be applied to the offense of culpable homicide, not amounting to murder. The NGOs created a Rakshak after suspects were found guilty and given 2 years prison sentences after being convicted under Section 304A, forcing the government to submit a curative plea in the Supreme Court, which was denied by the 5 judges panel that maintained the Justice Ahmadi bench's ruling. Another landmark decision in S.R. Bommai versus India case. The court in S.R. Bommai versus India was required to determine the President's authority to enforce the rule under Article 356 and the scope of that authority. The panel, which included Justice Ahmadi, came to the conclusion that the President's authority in this area was not unqualified and that the President would require the approval of both the houses of Parliament in order to exercise the same power. The court also found that Article 356, authority over the President, might be subject to judicial scrutiny. There are many judgments which I am sure that learned Advocate General, who must have practiced before Justice Ahmadi for a number of years, would deal with. Justice Ahmadi was on the bench that they decided the second judge's case in 1993 and gave birth to the collegium system for managing judicial appointments. After retirement from the Supreme Court, Justice Ahmadi was engaged in arbitration cases. He was sought after arbitrator in high-value domestic as well as international arbitration matters. Justice Ahmadi passed away on 2nd March 2023 at the age of 91. He is survived by daughter Ms. Tasneem Aziz Ahmadi and son Mr. Huzaifa Ahmadi, who are practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. Passing away of Justice A.M. Ahmadi has caused great loss to his family, friends, and immense loss to the entire legal fraternity. On his death, we have lost not only an eminent judge, but also a great human being. I, on my own behalf and on behalf of all my sister and brother judges, express our heartfelt condolences to the members of the bereaved family. May the Almighty give the strength to bear the great loss and overcome the grief. May the departed soul rest in eternal peace.
My lords, we have assembled here today in the shadow of gloom to pay homage to Honorable Mr. Justice Aziz Mushabbar Ahmadi, who left for his heavenly abode on 2nd March 2023 at New Delhi at the age of 91 years. On behalf of the legal fraternity of the state and on my own behalf, while associating with the sentiments that have fallen from my Lord, Honorable the Acting Chief Justice, I express our profound sense of grief and sorrow on the sad demise of Justice Ahmadi. Helen Steiner Rice, a well-known American writer and poet laureate, in one of her famous short poems about finding hope in dark times, has described something like this, I quote, "There is nothing light without a dawning, no winter without a spring, and beyond the dark horizon, our hearts will once more sing. For those who leave us for a while have only gone away out of restless, careworn world into a brighter day." Unquote. A non-Genarian born on 25th March 1932 in Surat, as referred to by my lord, to a humble family, wherein his lordship's father, Justice M.I. Ahmadi, was with the state judiciary. Owing to the transferable nature of his father's profession, Justice Ahmadi did his schooling from various schools in the erstwhile state of Bombay, but ultimately passed his matriculation examination from V.S. Trivedi Tutorial High School in Ahmedabad. Justice Ahmadi passed intermediate arts examination from Gujarat College and followed in his father's footsteps by commencing his journey in the legal field by pursuing degree in law from Sir Elisha Law College, Ahmedabad. After passing first LLB examination, Justice Ahmadi pursued his second LLB from his hometown Surat in a Sarvajanik Law College, where he obtained his degree of Bachelor of Laws. Thereafter, Justice Ahmadi enrolled as a district pleader in the High Court of Bombay on 15 June 1954. Subsequently, on 21st February 1962, after passing advocate's examination, his lordship enrolled as an advocate of the Gujarat High Court, whereafter he started practice on both civil and criminal side and soon established himself as a formidable lawyer. He had an all-round and pervasive practice. By sheer dint of hard work and devotion to duty, he endeared himself to all the honorable judges of the High Court as well as the Apex Court, who saw in Justice Ahmadi a great talent with deep knowledge of law. On 30th March 1964, his lordship was appointed as a judge of the City Civil and Sessions Court, Ahmedabad. Thereafter, Justice Ahmadi came to be appointed as a secretary to the government of Gujarat Legal Department from 5th June 1974 to 31st December 1975. Eventually, on 2nd September 1976, his lordship was elevated to this honorable court as an additional judge, and on 28th December 1977, Justice Ahmadi became the permanent judge of the High Court of Gujarat. During the stint of a judge as a judge of this honorable court, Justice Ahmadi adorned various positions of distinctions referred to by my lord, like Chairman of the Advisory Board under the Conservation of Foreign Exchange Act, Chairman of the Advisory Board under the Prevention of Black Marketing Act, Chairman of the Gujarat State Third Pay Commission, as well as a member of Ravi Bias Water Disputes Tribunal. His lordship was elevated as a judge of the Apex Court on 14 December 1988. His lordship was elevated as the Chief Justice of India on 25th October 1994, being the third Muslim Chief Justice of the secular India after Muhammad Hidayatullah and Mirza Amirullah Beg, and held the position till his lordship's retirement on 25th March 1997. Even after moving to the Apex Court, also, Justice Ahmadi actively put on various hats, such as President of the Supreme Court Legal Aid Committee. His lordship was awarded honorary doctorate in law by University of Kurukshetra on 27 February 1994, by Maharshi Dayana University on 26 March 1995, by University of Kanpur on 7th April 1995, and by University Leicester, England on 17 July 1998. His lordship was also a member of American Inn of Laws from 18th May 1995 and honorary Master Bencher of the Middle Temple Inn of the Honorable Society of Middle Temple, London from 11 June 1996. As a judge, Justice Ahmadi shined out very well. Modest, patient, dignified, and practical. He never lost his cool, even in the face of unjustified provocation, and had a strong sense of firmness. I recall my own personal experience appearing as a junior before Justice Ahmadi, who was very motivating and encouraging, while granting patient hearing and giving platform to learn and improve without fear to all the junior lawyers. He had a very pleasing personality, and use of harsh words was unknown to him. He was loved by the members of the bar and the judges alike as one of the finest judges. Those who had the privilege of either sharing the bench with him or appearing before him at the bar acknowledge the great impact which Justice Ahmadi created as the judge of the High Court and the Supreme Court of India. Justice Ahmadi had the credit of being one of the oft-quoted judges in India, which is a pointer and bear testimony to his judicial acumen and versatility. His painstaking diligence and fine understanding and exposition of legal principles. The landmark judgments of Justice Ahmadi in diverse fields are legion that have in recent times inexorably expanded the scope and limit of fundamental rights, such as the right to equality, the right to life and liberty. Justice Ahmadi was a part of many constitution benches of the Honorable Supreme Court, having decided very important issues of law in cases like Indira Swani's case relating to reservation, Charan Lal Sahu's case relating to constitutionality of legislation dealing with the claims of Bhopal gas leak victims, Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal case relating to legality of 1991 ordinance of Karnataka government on distribution of water. This apart, let me refer to a few important judgments authored by his lordship out of the unending list. In MB Sanghi versus High Court of Punjab, reported in 1991, volume 3 SSC 600, his lordship condemned the contemptuous conduct of the appellant advocate and observed that the Bar Council should consist of the right-minded people and should act like a watchdog in the profession of law and should take timely action to prevent the decline in ethical values. In Amir Sachan versus Hamlingiana, reported in 1991 4 SCC 39, it was held that Section 11 of the Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act 1974, which provided for revocation of detention orders, was part of the constitutional guarantee under Article 22 of the Constitution, and therefore the detainee had the right to make a representation to the state government, central government, and the advisory board against the detention order, and the authority was obliged to ensure that detainee was afforded the earliest opportunity to exercise the said right. In second judge's case, which is well known to all of us, reported in 1993, Volume 4, Supreme Court Cases 441, Justice Ahmadi rendered a dissenting opinion against today's burning issue relating to collegium system by observing that the text of the Constitution did not envisage the concept of collegium system, and for adopting the same, the enactment of the constitutional amendment would be required. In S.R. Bhumai's case, reported in 1994, 3 SCC 1, the question for determination pertained to the scope and ambit of President's power to impose President's rule under Article 356 of the Constitution of India. His Lordship rendered a separate judgment and concurred with the majority and held that extraordinary power under Article 356 of the Constitution is to be exercised with circumspection in exceptional circumstances, and further observed that the exercise of power under Article 356 of the Constitution is subject to judicial review only on limited grounds. In L. Chandra Kumar versus Union of India, reported in 1997, Volume 3, Supreme Court Cases 261, Justice Ahmadi held that jurisdiction of Supreme Court under Article 32 and High Courts in respect of power of judicial review under Articles 226 and 227 is part of inviolable basic structure of the Constitution, and therefore the same cannot be excluded by virtue of the provisions of Articles 323A and 323B pertaining to creation of tribunals. As a result, Clause 2D of Article 323A and Clause 3D of Article 323B were held to be unconstitutional to the extent they excluded the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and the High Courts under Articles 32 and 226 and 227 of the Constitution, respectively. Even after demitting the office as a judge of the Apex Court, His Lordship's concern and compassion for the common man, with a keen sense of doing justice, motivated Justice Ahmadi to continually contribute to the betterment of the society. On 15th May 1998, His Lordship was appointed as the chairman of Bhopal Memorial Hospital Trust that was constituted for the victims of Bhopal gas tragedy and rendered public service for a period of almost 12 years, during which the hospital was administered efficiently. In 2003, Justice Ahmadi was elected as a Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University. His contribution was not limited to India, as his services have also been utilized by several countries across the world. He was nominated on various committees such as United Nations Committee on Human Rights Violations in East Timor, to assist the judiciary in Liberia, and to review the state of relations between the judiciary, the legal profession, and the executive, and violation of human rights in Zimbabwe. Along with these engagements, Justice Ahmadi was actively handling high-stake arbitrations, both domestic and international, whereby he was a sought-after arbitrator. As we all know, to Romans, justice was a goddess whose symbols were a throne that tempest could not shake, a pulse that passion could not stir, eyes that were blind to any feeling of favor or ill will, and the sword that fell on the offenders with equal certainty and impartial strength. Justice Ahmadi was a votary of that goddess. Justice Ahmadi's wife, Mrs. Amina Ahmadi, had passed away in August 2022. Justice Ahmadi has left behind his daughter, Ms. Tasmin Ahmadi, who is an advocate mainly dealing with commercial and arbitration matters and appearing in Delhi High Court, and son, Mr. Huzaifa Ahmadi, who is a senior advocate practicing in the Supreme Court of India, who all are settled in Delhi with their respective families. May Almighty confer fortitude and sustenance on the members of the bereaved family to bear this loss. His Lordship's departure to the heavenly abode of eternity, though ordained, is indeed painful to the legal fraternity as a whole. May the departed soul rest in peace eternal.
My lords, on behalf of the Gujarat High Court Advocates Association, I share the feelings expressed by my lords, the Acting Chief Justice and the Learned Advocate General, on the sad demise of Honorable Mr. Justice A.M. Ahmadi, former Chief Justice of India. Justice Ahmadi started his legal practice in 1954 when he joined the bar in Mumbai. Shortly after that, when Gujarat High Court was established, he enrolled as an advocate in 1962. Justice Ahmadi had an exceptional career of over 3 decades and at all 3 levels of the judiciary. He set very high standards, earning him a name as the judiciary's conscience keeper. He maintained absolute integrity, punctuality, and promptness throughout his career. He was one of the few judges from the subordinate judiciary to make it to the Supreme Court and later on become the Chief Justice of India. Upon learning, after he was appointed as a district judge, that he was to be promoted to the High Court, he returned to the post of Civil and Sessions Judge, which he was holding before he was appointed as Law Secretary. It was the tradition of Gujarat in those days that after the Law Secretary was recommended for promotion to the High Court, he would return to the bench until the promotion was cleared. Justice Ahmadi was 44 years old when he was sworn in as the additional judge of the Gujarat High Court. He was 56 when he took over as the judge of the Supreme Court of India. He was appointed as the 26th Chief Justice of India and held that post for nearly 2.5 years before retiring on 25th March 1997. He also worked as the President of the Supreme Court Legal Aid Committee in 1989 and as Executive Chairman of the Committee for Implementing Legal Aid Schemes in India between 1990 and 94. Justice Ahmadi was very good to juniors. He helped and encouraged the new and junior advocates. He promoted them to speak and argue matters in court. Justice Rohington Nariman, recently while delivering a lecture in Ahmedabad on the very day when Justice Ahmadi passed away, while remembering him said that Justice Ahmadi was very kind to juniors and used to always encourage them, including Justice Nariman himself. After demitting office as a judge of the Supreme Court, Justice Ahmadi was the chairman of the Bhopal Memorial Hospital Trust, which was essentially made for the victims of the Bhopal gas tragedy. He was also the chancellor of the Aligarh Muslim University. Not many people know that in all these appointments, Justice Ahmadi gave honorary service. He did not even take up any post-retirement appointments from the government. Though he weighed his words before talking at the public forums, he used to speak out with firmness for the rights of the Muslim minority in the country. He was a very strong advocate of minority rights and laid emphasis on education for the Muslim youths. At a public function, shortly after his retirement, Justice Ahmadi made a strong pitch for steps by the government authorities to address the issues of social, economic, and educational backwardness of Muslims. He said, I quote, "The country simply cannot afford to have a certain percentage of population unable to contribute to the country's development." I unquote. In 2008, Justice Ahmadi released a book titled A Guide to Uplift Minorities, brought out by the Jamaat-e-Islami Hind to help and guide the social workers who are active in the field of welfare of minorities. Justice Ahmadi was a very good cricketer. His love for cricket brought him close to the very famous Jasubhai Patel, a very great cricketer who was an off-spinner and had played Test cricket for India. Justice Ahmadi was so passionate and fond of cricket that he, along with Justice M.H. Kadri, who was about 10 years younger to him, and with famous cricketer Salim Durrani, and with one of our own experienced lawyer, Mr. Niranjan Bhatt, who is father of Mr. Amar Bhatt, used to regularly play cricket in Shaibag, the ground of late Udayan Baronet. I personally never got an opportunity to meet this great personality. But what I gather from close friends and those who knew Justice Ahmadi is that as a judge, he used to be open till last. He never heard a matter with a predetermined mind, and he used to marshal the facts very well in any matter he heard. Justice Ahmadi showed his courage and conviction in upholding the constitutional culture in our diverse system and ensured that the spirit of diversity in the Constitution is not nullified. He will always be remembered for upholding the rule of law as a fearless and independent judge. His lordship's outstanding contribution to the judiciary of the country and emphasis on speedy justice to the underprivileged will always be admired. He is survived by his daughter Tasneem and son Huzaifa Ahmadi. In his death, we have lost an eminent judge and above all, a great human being, a true loss to the institution. I, on behalf of the Gujarat High Court Advocates Association, express my heartfelt condolences to the members of the bereaved family. May the Almighty give them strength to bear the great loss and overcome the grief. May the departed soul rest in eternal peace. Om Shanti.
As a mark of respect to the departed soul, 2 minutes silence be observed. The Registrar General may convey the message of condolences to the members of bereaved family as a mark of respect to the departed soul. The proceedings of the court would stand suspended for the rest of the day.